All right, if you're just joining us, it's still the weekend show, and tomorrow is World Communications Day. We have with us Reverend Father Martin Angusi, Director, Social Communications Department, Catholic Diocese of Awka, and also Director of Fides Communications. Good morning and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, talking about World Communications Day, in case you don't know, this was actually a celebration that was that it's being celebrated worldwide, and it was due to the strides of the Vatican. It was flagged on in 1963 by Pope Paul the Sixth, right?
Actually, it was in 1967.
Okay.
The first celebration was 1967.
Okay, so
that's why we're celebrating the 53rd communications.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what is World Communications all about?
Actually, it is because the church sees communications as one of the greatest gifts to humanity. And the church said, since her mission is to evangelize the world, not to bring the good news of Jesus Christ, who is a great communicator to the entire community. So the church every year brings out a theme that will help the entire world, not just the Catholic world, but the entire world to reflect on the values of communication and also the caveat about its dangers as well. So that's what we've been doing. So every year, whoever is the Pope brings out a message that will be reflected upon by media executives and the communicators and journalists around the world. So they are not just, it's not just about Catholics.
Okay.
Yeah, it's for the entire media world.
But with this celebration, why does the Catholic Church paying attention to that aspect of communication? There are several sectors in human life, but it seems over the years, attention has been paid to this celebration. Why?
Yeah, because communication is a vehicle, it's a culture. You cannot talk about economy today without communication. You cannot talk about politics without communication. You cannot talk about governance without communication. You cannot talk about industry without communication. So everything is about communication today. I had the program before, even in infidelity in marriage, somebody was talking about communication between husband and wife. So you see the centrality of communication. And that's why the church says, if this is a great vehicle that carries everything, then we must look at it. Because if we get it right, then we get the society right.
Okay, every year, Fides newspaper, well, I must really congratulate you on the big strides of that media. I mean, it's not really to come out fresh every Sunday.
Thank you.
But every year, Fides newspaper always celebrates World Communications Day in a big way. Is it just a Catholic celebration?
No.
Is it just Fides newspaper celebration? I mean, we have other media houses in Anambra State.
Yeah.
What role do they have to play?
Yeah, because the Fides Communication is the communication department of the Catholic Diocese of Awka. Okay. And since this message comes from the Pope, so it becomes our responsibility to gather media executives and journalists in the state to sit down in a roundtable discussion. Normally, we begin with the Holy Mass. After the Mass, the media executives and journalists, we gather for the second session where we discuss and talk about the Pope's message and how the message affects the media and the practice of communication in this state. In fact, we always discuss two messages because you have, on the universal level, the Pope's message, and then on the local level, the message of the bishop of the diocese. So every bishop in every diocese gives out his own message, just like the Pope gives the guiding message on the universal scale.
Can we throw a little bit of light into these messages, which is forming the theme for this celebration? The one from the Pope says, we are members of one of another. We are members one of another. Then we have social network communities to the human community. Can you shine a bit of light into these themes and how they will change our mindset when it comes to communication?
Okay. The Pope said, he said a very simple thing. He said his first intention is to invite us to reflect again on the importance of communication, especially in the dimension of network communities today. So he said, first of all, we must understand that network is a resource. It's one of the greatest resources we have today. And then he said, because it is one of the greatest resources, that networking has become a source of knowledge and a source of creating relationship. And that's what led him you can create a visual relationship, what he called network communities. He said, but we must lose sight of the goal of every network community is to build a better human society. So that's why you see that message from network communities to human community. And what is very striking, the Pope talks about network communities in plural, but human community in singular.
Okay. Yeah.
So whichever way we are communicating, social media, internet, everything, we must bear in mind that they are all meant to serve one purpose, to creating a better and healthier human society.
So let's talk about the 2019 celebration, which will be happening tomorrow, Sunday. What do you have for us? What kind of events are we expecting?
The kind of event is we have, like I've said earlier, we begin with the Holy Mass, and that will be presided over by the Auxiliary Bishop of Awka, because the bishop wouldn't be available. And then after that Mass, we go into the second section, which will be the discussion. And incidentally, the lead speaker will be the MD and CEO of ABS, Nzeuche Nwora. So we'll be leading the media executives and the journalists in the state to discuss this Pope's message and how the message impacts on our society, especially in our local context. Okay. Last year, we had the Commissioner for Information who led the discussion, Mr. Sidon Adenova. So it's always very interesting, and that's why you see many journalists tomorrow.
Okay, so the event will certainly be for everyone to participate.
Everyone to participate. Everyone, every media personnel.
All right.
Okay, it has to be strictly for media personnel.
Well, others can come in because communication we're talking about. When we talk about network communities today, you're no longer, everybody is a journalist today.
Yes, because of what the social media has done.
Exactly.
All right, well, let's roll this again. We are members, the theme is we are members of one another, from social network communities to the human community. Date Sunday, 2nd June 2019. Venue St. Patrick's Catholic Cathedral, Awka. Time is 10 a.m. Holy Mass, discussion of the Pope's message, and entertainment. I'm interested in that last one.
Okay, so Father, just one last question, very brief. Okay. We're talking about networking, bringing communication, medias together. After tomorrow, what happens to this whole network?
Well, after tomorrow, when we carry the message, there's one thing we do in media, in communication in general. We talk about media education. When people are educated, just like when people go to school, they come out, they use the knowledge they acquired from school to begin to apply them in their daily life. So after the essence of these discussions we will have tomorrow is after that, the journalists and media executives will understand better really the challenges ahead and the values as well. We're not being pessimistic about media. You know, it's a great value. That's the first thing Pope says. One of the greatest gifts to humanity. So what we do tomorrow, that after tomorrow, then we carry the message, the fruits of our discussions, and into the daily practice that we are used to.
All right. Thank you, Reverend Father Martin Amosi, for joining us on the show this morning. It's certainly an eye-opener, and we're ready to join in the celebration tomorrow. I will also urge everyone join us on the show this morning to also be part of this discussion. Communication is a sine qua non in our society. It's a very, very important part of us. Thank you for coming again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Well, that's still what we give you right here. We give you breakfast, dessert, we give you everything. So, David, you have anything to say, apart from the fact that tomorrow I am so going to go there, apart from the Holy Communion, I'm sure there are other communions.
All right. Don't go anywhere.